शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Namaskaram all of you and welcome to the 28th session of Narayaniyam for Dasakam 18, namely the story of Prithu. We recently saw how Shuka explained and how Bhattadri followed him to the T, although in summary form. The steadfast devotion of Dhruva and his settling in Dhruvalokam, which is explained to be the eternal abode well above Saptarishi Mandala, which is mythically and spiritually believed to survive the Naimittika Pralaya. After narrating the story of Dhruva, Sri Narayana Bhattadri, who spent hardly 2 dasakams for great incarnations such as Ramavatara for Sri Rama, delights in continuing with the sportive incarnations of the Brahman, deliberately inserted unto the lineage of Dhruva one of his most ardent devotees. The next story to be described is that of Emperor Prithu, a partial incarnation of Brahman, but as the foremost emperor who ever ruled the Mother Earth in creation. In order to describe the story of Prithu, Bhattadri starts with the father, King Vena, who turned out to be a regrettable blot on the pious dynasty of the eternal Dhruva. Chapters 13 to 23 of 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam cover the contents of this particular dasakam, which we are going to see now. जातस्य ध्रुवकुलयेव तुङ्गकीर्तेः जातस्य ध्रुवकुलयेव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः स वेन नाम यद्दोषव्यदितमतिः यद्दोषव्यदितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे नीतमनावनं गतोऽभूत्। जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः स वेन नाम यद्दोषव्यदितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमना वनं गतोऽभूत्. Dhruva had a son, Vatsara, by his wife Brahmi, the daughter of Shishumara, a Prajapati. Dhruva also married Ila, the daughter of Vayu, or the wind god. Ila gave birth to a son named Utkala. Brahmi's son Vatsara got a son by name Pushpana, who got a son Vyushta, and Vyushta's son was Sarvatejas. Sarvatejas had a son who became Chakshushamanu, whose son Unmaka got 6 sons by Pushkarini. Anga was the foremost among them by age as well as by his virtues. Thus, King Anga, who attained great fame, came in Dhruva's lineage. Strangely, in such a pious lineage, a cruel son Vena was born to Anga and Sunita. By his very nature, Vena engaged himself in unrighteous and wicked activities and tortured his subjects in many ways that are unbecoming any respectable and benevolent king from that great dynasty. We are often reminded of such Venas in this Yuga as well, and also in these recent times, tarnishing the great image of great countries and the peoples of those countries and behaving like uncontrollable dictators. That is why we review such mythological aspects in greater detail to explain ourselves of the current phenomena, not only here but around the world. The saintly King Anga was extremely unhappy at his son's evil and wicked behavior. Distressed in life, tortured by mental anguish, and driven by a sense of renunciation, King Anga retired to the forest to do penance, fixing his mind on your lotus feet, Guruvayurappa. I had said that many cantos and chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam quote the samvadam between Vidura and Maitreya Maharishi. Though we have briefly mentioned about this, for recap, let me give the lineage and background for a few minutes, since there were questions recently on Vidura Maitreya Samvadam and their background. Jnani Vidura served before the great Mahabharata Yuddham as chief advisor to Kauravas and Pandavas. Vidura was often made fun of by Kaurava brothers as a Shudraman, as he was born to Parishrami, a maid servant of the Kuru queens Ambika and Ambalika, when they surreptitiously sent Parishrami to Vedavyasa in their place for a Niyoga conception, which is just to simply keep alive the great lineage of Kuru Vamsam. And that again, they were as per orders of Maharani Chakravartini Satyavati. Niyoga was a tradition practiced by the followers of Swayambhuva Manu, according to which a woman was counseled or ordered to be the bearer of a child from a revered yogi or a great rishi with a great traditional purpose and for continuity of the lineage. This Niyoga tradition should not be confused with Niyogis of the modern day Andhra Pradesham and Telugu Sampradaya. A great Mahatma possessed of divine wisdom and blessing, that Sri Vidura, was advisor to Dhritarashtra and Pandu Maharajas, and revered by all, including Bhagavan Krishna, but often ridiculed by Duryodhanadi siblings. As per the narration in Sanat Sujatiya section of Udyoga Parva of Mahabharata, shortly before the Kurukshetra war began, Vidura invoked the sage Sanat Sujata to answer Dhritarashtra's questions about death. In protest against the unnecessary Kurukshetra war and the foretold eventual destruction of everyone, and unable to prevent such distress and disaster by his own advice to those people who would not listen to him, Vidura, out of anguish, resigned from the post of minister to Kurus and took to Vanaprastham and Tirtha Yatra right thereafter. That is when Vidura meets Maitreya Rishi, son of sage Kasarava and a disciple of Parashara Maharishi, who incidentally happens to be Vidura's grandfather, since Parashara was the father of Vyasa, who in turn was the father of Vidura. Maitreyi Shaka, based on Maitreyi Samhita, is part of Krishna Yajurveda. The Rishi is credited with Maitreyi Upanishad and Maitreyi Brahmana. Rishi Maitreya is popular in Srimad Bhagavatam. After the Mahabharata war, Vidura goes on pilgrimage in utter despair. During this time, Vidura meets Maitreya and asked many a question. Maitreya's intelligent answers to Vidura form part of the holy Bhagavata Purana. In Vishnu Purana, we see young Maitreya, while completing his studies, asking numerous questions to his Acharya Parashara. Maitreya Muni was a Vishnu devotee. Maitreya was lucky to meet Yadava Krishna just before Purnavatara Brahman Krishna decides to leave the worldly abode in Dwapara Yuga. There is an instance in Mahabharata where Maitreya Muni advises Dhritarashtra to be fair and just towards Pandavas and teach the right and dharmic path to his erring sons. But you all know, Dhritarashtra was mute and weak and ignored the advice, while Duryodhana and his siblings ridiculed the Muni right on face. Maitreya then curses Kauravas that Duryodhana and clan will be annihilated in less than 14 years and would face gory death. The last few sentences I talked about the instances relating to that in Mahabharatam are very relevant as of today around us. Let us see how Maitreya answers Vidura on the question of why King Anga ran away to the forest, leaving everything to his son in abject frustration. Maitreya makes a tongue-in-cheek expression, and let us see Sukha saying to Parikshit, Kadapadyam varam manye sat apachya chucham padat nirvidyeta grihan martyahayat klesha nivaha gruhaha. King Anga, therefore, thinking in terms of detachment, accepted his evil son as an impetus for his total detachment from material life. Anga reconciled to his bad son as his friend. Due to his helping him becoming absolutely detached from everything material. In the end, one has to learn how to detach oneself from attachment to material life. Therefore, if one is cursed into having a bad child, by his or her unruly behavior, the father or the householder gets away from bondage as a bestowed boon. This may sound somewhat skeptical or ironic, but we see that in our mundane lives quite often.
Pavo Bhikshiditala Palanaya Venaha Pavo Bhikshiditala Palanaya Venaha Pauradehi Upanitaha Kadoraviryaha Pavo Bhikshiditala Palanaya Venaha Pauradehi Upanita Kadora Viryaha Sarvebhyo Nijabalameva Samprasansanne Sarvebhyo Nijabalameva Samprasanne Bhujakretavatyajanaanyayo Bhujakretava Yajananyayam Nyarauti
Papovi Chititala Palanaya Venaha Pauradyehi Upanihitaha Katora Viryaha Sarvebhyo Nijabalameva Samprashamsan Bhuchakretava Yajananyayam Nyarautsit. Vena was bestowed with greatest powers, and none could resist his bad deeds and cruel actions. It was a well-known fact that Vena was a sinner spending all his power and energy on only evil deeds and most of his life. He was mighty and also cruel. Nevertheless, the citizens, the ministers, the priests, and experienced elderly people of noble families powerlessly and fearfully installed Vena as the king, fearing that anarchy would take over and destroying the great country in the absence of any king, however bad he may be. Such cowardice and fears are not uncommon even today, which I am sure every one of you will agree with me that we see verbatim what happened in the case of Vena happening today. Thus, Vena came to have youth, wealth, and enormous power, and his imprudence altogether at the same time. This made him blind with absolute arrogance and with so much vanity and pride. The cruel king, a total narcissist, exhibited his prowess by harming people, passing orders that were absolutely irrelevant but only self-serving. He declared that the whole universe was sustained by his power and might, that there was no one greater than him, and hence he was none other than God, so that he can annex any land of his choice and whichever way he wanted to annex it. He proclaimed that the people of creation should worship him in all rituals wherever they are. By his character or gunas, he became totally asuric and thus prohibited all yajnas or sacrifices and all other sacred rituals that are meant for pleasing the Supreme Brahman should be made to him thenceforth. Bhattadri in his next slokam describe how the vain Vena insults God himself and all good people alike and thus gets cursed by the great Maharishis, and how such insults and resulting curses end up finishing him.
Samprapte hidakadanaya Samprapte hidakadanaya Tapasauge Samprapte hidakadanaya Tapasauge Matto anyo bhuvanapadihi Kashyaneti Tanninda Vajanapuro Munishwaraistahi Tanninda Vajanapuro Munishwaraistahi Shapagno Salavadasamanai Vena Shapagno Salavadasamanai Vena
Samprapte hitakatanaya tapasauge mattonyo bhuvanapatihi na kashyaneti tvanninda vajanaparo munishwaraistaihi chapagno salabadashamanai venaha. As mentioned earlier, Vena had prohibited all noble acts like yajnas, that is sacrifice, charity, penance, and all other austerities in his entire kingdom and indulged himself in all unrighteous acts. Disturbed at this phenomenon, the saints sought to advise him in the hope that Vena would adopt the right conduct in ruling the country and may listen to them. They told him like this: "Oh, the great king, the person who is noble indeed, word and mind will attain sacred worlds like heaven. O brave one, Vena, do not destroy righteousness in our great country. If you govern the country with the prescribed codes of justice, equity, and impartiality, then the all-pervading Bhagavan will be pleased to fulfill all your desires, and all your desires can easily be achieved." To this, the arrogant Vena replied, "O stupid saints, there are no greater fools than you who consider unrighteous things as righteous ones. I am the Supreme One, in flesh and blood, and ignoring me, you end up worshipping an unseen one and call him God. Who is that all-pervading Lord or God? You are vile and base, like unchaste women who love their paramours, neglecting their own noble and great husbands. I am everything, so your worship should be completely focused on me. It is in the king's very body that all gods dwell. Don't you know, idiots? Therefore, I, the greatest king of all kings ever created, am the Lord of the universe. Realize this sooner than later for your own good if you want to live. There is no Lord superior to me. At least henceforth, honor me and worship me mutely and never utter a word like what you said just now." Totally enraged at the king's open censure of Bhagavan himself, the saints cursed him. Just as moths jump into the fire due to ignorance and die, the arrogant Vena was consumed by the flame of the saints' curses.
न निर्मितकेन न दृष्टपूर्वः न निर्मितकेन न दृष्टपूर्वः न श्रूयते हेममयः कुरङ्गः तथापि तृष्णा रघुनन्दनस्य विनाशकाले विपरीतबुद्धिः विनाशकाले विपरीतबुद्धिः
न निर्मितः केन न दृष्टपूर्वः न श्रूयते हेममयः कुरङ्गः तथापि तृष्णा रघुनन्दनस्य विनाशकाले विपरीतबुद्धिः. This is Chanakya Niti. No one created a deer with golden fur. None has seen it before, and no one has heard about such things. Even though Maya is understood, it was the unneeded desire of Raghunandana to go and catch it due to Sita's solicitation, which led his intellect to override the peril that led to doom in the form of incidents that followed, namely for Sita's abduction by Ravana, etc. This quote is from Kautilya's Arthashastra, also known as Chanakya Niti. Kautilya says this to Emperor Chandragupta. As you may know, Chandragupta's son was Bindusara, and Chandragupta's grandson was the famous Emperor Ashoka.
ऋषिभिः स्वाश्रमपदं गते पुत्रकले परं सुनीता पालयामास विद्यायोगेन शोचति.
Srimad Bhagavatam says that Vena's mother Sunita was so distraught that she preserved the body of Vena mantra yogena. I don't know why she preserved it. She thought by preserving and then using some extraordinary power, she can bring back to life Vena's dead body. Rishibhihi Shwashramapadam Gate Putra Kalevaram Sunita Palayamasa Vidya Yogena Sochati. Bhagavatam says the rishis who were the cause of Vena's death were worried that the kingdom was rudderless and kingless, and thus wondered how to tackle the anarchy and plundering that would easily follow when a kingdom loses the king without a proper substitute or a replacement.
Tannasat kalajanabirukai munindrai tanmatrachira parirakshite tadange yaktage परिमतितादयोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वामिरासि.
तन्नाशात् कलजनभीरुकैः मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमतितात् अथोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वम् आविरासीः. Though Vena was the worst and cruel, the country at least had a king when he was alive. When Vena was destroyed, anarchy prevailed. It was a chaotic situation, with thieves and dacoits terrorizing the common people unhindered. As unrighteousness exploded, the country headed towards total destruction. Under these circumstances, sages like Bhrigu were gripped by fear. How to salvage this great nation? They thought that a Kshatriya would be required to destroy the remaining wicked and resurrect a decent rule of the country and steer it towards order and respectability. They felt distraught that the lineage of the great King Anga should not end so despicably without a proper follower or a lineage. Encouraged by such thought, they decided to endeavor to create a new king.
एवं ऋषन्तर्षयो धावतां सर्वतो दिशं पांसुः समुत्थितो भूरिचोराणाम् अभिलुम्बत.
एवं ऋषन्तर्षयो धावतां सर्वतो दिशं पांसुः समुत्थितो भूरिश्चोराणाम् Abhilumpatam. Srimad Bhagavata Slokam says, thieves and rogues simply await political upset for an opportunity to plunder the common man in general. To keep thieves and rogues inactive in their profession, a strong government is always required, which rishis realized. They wondered whether they could take action to quell the unrest and whether such action is ultra vires their dharma. Maitreya then tells Vidura that such a hesitation was unwarranted. Let us see the samvadam between Maitreya and Vidura.
Brahmana samadrikshanto Brahmana samadrikshanto Deenanam samubhejagaha Savate brahmatasyavi Bhinnabhandat payunyata.
Brahmanaha samadrikshanto Deenanam samupekshakaha Shavate brahmatasyapi Bhinnabhandat payunyata. The great sages began to think that although a Brahmana is peaceful and impartial because he is equal to everyone, it is still not his duty to neglect poor humans. By such neglect, a Brahmana's spiritual power diminishes, such as water kept in a cracked pot progressively leaks out and there is nothing left there. Very soon, the saints came to know that unwilling to burn the dead body of Veena, his mother Sunita, preserving it with herbs and the power of incantation so that she could console herself at least by looking at the body every day. This was stupidity, but everybody around her knew that. They decided to create a new king from Vena's dead body itself by churning the body. They first churned the thighs. From there emerged a man embodying all sins of Vena. In other words, the churning of the thighs of Vena accumulated all the sins of Vena and then removed it in the form of a man.
Kaka Krishna Adikrishtavango Kaka Krishna Adikrishtavango Prasvabahu Mahahanu Prasvabat Nindanasagno Raktagrahatamramudaja Tam tu devanakam dino Kim karomi divadinam Nishidayidi abruvam tadasa Nishadattato bhavate.
Kaka Krishna Adihriswango Krishvabahuhu Mahahanuhu Krishvapad Nimna Nasagro Raktakshaha Tamra Murdajaha Tam tu te vanatam deenam Kim karomi iti vadinam Nishida iti abruvam stata Sa nishadaha tato bhavat. Dwarf, and as black as a crow with exceptionally short limbs and particularly short arms and legs, large jaws, a flat nose, bloodshot eyes, and red hair. This is the description from Srimad Bhagavatam. To that person who was bent low and meek too, and who said, "What shall I do?" the Brahmana said, Nishida. Nishida means you better sit down here. You sit down. That is why he was known by the name Nishada. According to Bhagavatam, since Nishada took upon himself the terrible sins of Vena, even while being born, his offsprings were known as the Nishadas. They also partook his nature and started their abode in mountains and in woods. When all sins of Vena were expelled from his body in this manner of churning, it became pure. The saints then churned his hands. At that time, O Lord, you manifested yourself with your consort Lakshmi as Emperor Prithu and his wife Archis. Bhagavan dwells in everyone. When the wickedness of the wicked person is removed and he becomes pure, divinity manifests in their personality or body. Churning of Vena's sinful body, that drove out the sins, and the Lord's manifestation as Prithu happened from the purified body that brings out this eternal truth. Bhattacharya then narrates the wonderful exploits of Emperor Prithu.
Vidyata praduriti tapasobadittai Sudatihi parinuta bhavi puri viryaga Venartya kabalita sampadam daridrimakrantam Nijadanusha samamakashi Nijadanusha samamakashi
Vikyataha Prithuriti Tapasopadishtaihi Sutaddehi Parinutabhavi Bhuri Viryaha Venartya Kabalita Sampadam Daritri Makrantam Nija Dhanusha Samamakarshi. Oh, Bhagavane has mentioned about when the saints churned Vena's hands, you did manifest with part of your splendor as the Emperor Prithu. The saints declared Prithu as your very incarnation and said, this personality would be the foremost among kings in this world, and besides, he would display such prowess as would be remembered in all the worlds eternally. So saying, they crowned you as the universal monarch or Chakravarti. However, as your divine qualities were not apparent at that time to anyone, the minstrels could not sing in praise of you properly. Noticing their predicament, the sages visualized through their power of penance and austerities your divine qualities, the great valor and splendor, and explained to the minstrels that you should cause the earth to yield all objects of prosperity. You would conduct 100 Ashwamedha Yagas, that is, earth sacrifices, so easily on the banks of river Saraswati. You would achieve spiritual enlightenment from sage Sanat Kumara and others. The minstrels then sang of your glory and the achievement that were soon to follow. Prithu, also known as Prithi, the first consecrated sovereign or Chakravarti since the advent of creation, since Nainitika Pralaya, was the cause of Mother Earth getting the name Prithvi. Prithu's legend is highlighted as the one who, after hiding Mother Earth, who fled from the evil Vena, taking the form of a cow and laying the creation starved and barren. Prithu ruled the earth, keeping Prayag as his capital. He was Ayonija, born without any intervention of a woman, also meaning not from a yoni. He was desireless and a master of all sense, upholding dharma. There is extensive description in Mahabharata about Prithu. Vishnu Purana also talks extensively, and of course from Bhagavata Purana very elaborately about this avatara, namely Prithu or Prithi. Because of Vena's outrageous and violent acts, Bhumi Devi, goddess Earth, had withdrawn and hidden all her bounties which sustained the life. On account of this hiding, all the people created were suffering from hunger and thirst. They took refuge in you, Bhagavane, who in turn had to force Bhuma Devi to yield to the hidden resources. Gripped by fear, the earth took the form of a cow and started running to escape from you, not knowing your avatara Ragasyam. Showing rage or apparent anger or infuriated, you followed her to whichever world she was running to. At last, realizing that there was no escape, Mother Earth surrendered to you in the form of a cow. Falling at your feet, Uma Devi said, "O Lord, the sole head of this world, I just realized. In time immemorial, it was you yourself who did redeem me from Patala, rescuing me from the Asura by taking the form of a cosmic boar. You did keep me afloat like a ship in the ocean, making me fit for sustaining all living beings. You who did do such wonderful things have incarnated as Emperor Prithu, to protect your subjects, which I now realize. Is it right on your part to kill me or attempt to kill me to redeem the wealth that I have withdrawn only because the world has now been filled with cruel people? You may, with suitable calf, milkmen, and vessels, take all the requirements from me, including the food in the form of milk. You may level my surface of the earth by removing hills and mountains that have overrun me, so that the inhabitants can plow and get yields eternally from all their plants. Accordingly, with the curved end of the very bow, which you as Prithu used to force the earth into submission, you started leveling the surface of the earth by removing hills and mountains so that people can start preparing their food by planting.
भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः भूयास्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाचरेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलाषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभि अनुमदूदुगत्वम्
भूयस्तां निजकुल मुख्य वत्स युक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचित चारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन् अभिलाषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुम् अदूदुहस्त्वम्. O Bhagavane, you in your incarnation as Prithu made the earth amenable. After that, you did milk goddess earth who had taken the form of a divine cow, or known as Surabhi or Kamadhenu. And then you ordained the devas and other species of beings to milk into the appropriate dainty vessels all the food and other requirements, utilizing the respective leaders as calves. This is described in Bhagavatam as follows. First, Prithu milked plants from Surabhi, making Manu, the leader of mankind, as calf and using his own hand as vessel. Then the sages made Brihaspati as calf, and in the vessel of sense organs milked Chandas, namely Vedas. Devas had Indra as calf and milked in a golden vessel Soma juice, prowess, splendor, and strength. Prahlada was the calf for Asuras, and they milked liquor in an iron vessel. Gandharvas and celestial nymphs made Vishwavasu calf, and in the vessel of lotus they milked music, beauty, etc. The mains milked in the vessel made of fresh clay, unburnt, kavya, oblations to deceased persons, with Aryama as calf. Siddhas made Kapila as calf and milked all the 8 Siddhis, while Vidyadharas with the same calf milked the art of flying. The Asuras milked the illusion with Maya as calf. Yaksha, spirits, goblins, fiends, etc. milked blood with Rudra as calf and skull as vessel. Takshaka was the calf for serpents, and they milked poison in the vessel of their mouth. The cows kept Nandi as calf, and forest as their vessel, and milked grass. With the lion as calf, the carnivorous animals like tiger, etc., milked flesh using their body as vessel. Garuda was the calf for birds, and they milked insects and food grains. The calf for trees was the banyan tree, and their trunk were vessels, and they milked sap. The mountains made Himavan their calf, and their peaks their vessel, and milked on minerals. Why do we require calf for everyone to get something out of Mother Earth? Because Bhagavatam says, you cannot obtain anything from the Mother Earth, namely the cow, unless the calf allows the mother to give you what you want. That's why every time something is mentioned about so-and-so becoming a calf and somebody else getting the benefit, yes, there has to be a calf for any cow to be milked. That is the purpose behind such an elaborate description.
Adasmin Bhagavan Vainyah Prajanam Vrittidapitaya Nivasam Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatra Yata Graman Puraha Patnani Durgani Vividani Cha Goshan Brajan Sa Shibiran Agaran Keda Karvatayan Praputoriganaye Vanaisha Pura Gramadi Kalpana Yata Sukam Vasantisma Tatra Tatra Akuto Bhayaga Akuto Bhayaga
Atasmin Bhagavan Vainyaha Prajanam Vritidaha Pita Nivasan Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatta Yatar Hataha. To all the citizens of the state, King Prithu, son of Vena, was as good as a father. Thus, he was visibly engaged in giving them proper subsistence, proper employment for subsistence. After leveling the surface of the globe, Prithu earmarked various places for residential quarters, inasmuch as they were desirable and that people, his citizens, could enjoy. Graman Puraha Pattanani Durgani Vividhani Cha Goshan Varjansa Shibiran Akaron Keta Karvatan. In this way, King founded many types of villages, settlements, and towns, and built forts, residences for cowherdsmen, stables for the animals, places for the royal camps, mining places, agricultural towns, and mountain villages. This is the first time the emperor was able to make a perfectly planned kingdom with all the necessary quarters and equipment. Prag Prutorika Nayeva Nayisha Pura Gramadi Kalpana Yatasukam Vasantisma Tatra Tatra Akuto Bayaha. Before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered and everyone constructed their residential quarters according to one's own convenience. It was all haphazard and looking very bad. However, from the time of King Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages as to how they should look like, how they should be surrounded by the essential requirements and conveniences. Thereafter, King Prithu became pleased with Goddess Earth, who now yielded all the subjects of one's desire and fondly accepted her as a daughter, feeling paternal love for her. Look at this here. Prithu, an incarnation of Bhagavan, accepts Bhuma Devi as the daughter. He then ruled the earth as a truly kind and good king. Prithu performed 100 Ashwamedha Yaga, horse sacrifices. What happened during the 100th sacrifice is described by Bhattadri in the 7th slokam.
Atmanam yajati magai vaitridaman arabde satatamavaji medayake spardhaluhu satamagaitya nijavesho kridvashvam tavatanayadri parajito parajito
Atmanam yajiti makai swaistridaman arabde satatamavaji megayage svardhaluhu satamakaitya nichavesho krutvaswam tavatanayad parajito bhut. O Lord Tridaman, one who has three abodes or aspects known as the Trinity of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Rudra, the destroyer, based on three basic qualities of Rajas, Sattvam, and Tamas, conducts the three basic activities of creation, preservation, and dissolution, and rules the three worlds of Patala, namely the nether worlds, Bhuloka, earth, and Swargaloka, the heavens. You are explained through illustration in the Rug, Yajur, and Sama Vedas. When doing pranayama, You are meditated upon with concentration in the navel area during inhalation, in the heart area while holding the breath, and in between the eyebrows during exhalation. You are hailed in the pranava of three mantras consisting of A, U, Hey Tridaman, O Lord with three aspects in the form of Trinity, Tvayi, Yajati, Sati, Atmanam, Makaihi. When you are worshipping yourself with sacrifices, Satatam Avaji Meda Yage Arabde. And when the 100th heart sacrifice started, Smardaluhu Satamakaha Aitya, the envious Indra having come, Niche Veshaha Kritvatava Ashwam, disguised as a barbarian and robbed your horse. Abhut Parajitaha Tanayat was defeated, of course, by your son.
Devendram Muguriti Vajino Garanto Valtam Munivara Mandale Jahusho Rundani Kamala Bhavekrato Samabdo Sakshatvam Madhuripum Aikshata Swayam Swam Sakshatvam Madhuripum Aikshata Swayam Swam.
Devendram Muhuriti Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Jahushav Rundane Kamalabhave Kratoho Samaptau Sakshatvam Madhuripam Aikshataha Swayam Swam. Undeterred, Indra attempted repeatedly to steal the sacrificial horse, each time assuming a different form as a barbarian, sometimes naked, sometimes wearing blood-red clothes, and at other times wearing ash all over his body. However, he disappeared when vanquished in the battle every time by Prithu's son. At this happenings again and again, Prithu finally got very furious, took his bow and arrow to finish Indra. But the priest conducting the sacrifice came and urged and advised the king that it was improper to resort to violence in the middle of the sacrifice, especially 100th Ashwamedha. They offered to bind Indra and use him as an oblation in the fire, using their powers of divine incantation. When they're about to offer Indra as the final oblation in the sacrificial fire facing southwards, the grandsire and creator Brahma made his appearance. Brahma advised the priest that they should persuade the king Prithu and Indra to become friends, and there is no purpose in Prithu killing Indra. Brahma also addressed the king Prithu and said, O king, the wise and intelligent person that you are, possessing true spiritual knowledge, already having completed 99 sacrifices, you have no use for any more of them. You are conversant with Dharma, conducive to liberation. It is not worthy of you to show anger against this fellow Indra, who is your own second self. As both you and Indra are Vishnu's partial manifestations, it is not proper for you to kill Indra, one other manifestation of Bhagavan. Thus, the grandsire Brahma was able to stop Prithu from proceeding with the sacrifice with Indra's oblation. Immediately, Prithu gave up his enmity with Indra, came to terms with him, concluded the yajna, and took purificatory bath. Instantly, Prithu had the vision of Lord Vishnu. The author uses the words Aikshataha Swayam Swam. You saw yourself in the vision, confirming that Prithu himself is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu.
Taddattam varamupalabhya bhakti mekam Taddattam varam upalabhya bhakti mekam Gangante vihita padaha kalabhireva Satrattam muninimaham kitani samsan Aikshitaha sanakamukan munin puhastat Satratam Muni Nimagam Itani Sonsan Aichikara Sanagamugan Muni Purata
Taddattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam gangante rigitapadaha kadapi deva satraswam muni nivaham hitani shamshan aikshitaha sanakamuhan munin purastat. O Lord, you shine forth when you place these similar roles in your incarnations in this world. When Lord Vishnu manifested before you, you did opt for the most appropriate boon, the only means of attaining the highest position of unshakable devotion. Thereafter, when you were residing between the rivers of Yamuna and Ganga, you once started a great sacrifice which was attended, among others, by many sages divine, Brahminic and royal. You gave an exposition of supreme dharmas or righteousness for the benefit of the assembled sages. Among them, you noticed particularly the presence of the four renowned sages, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, who came by the celestial path.
Vijnanam sanakamukovitam dadanaha Vijnanam sanakamukovitam dadanaha Swakmanam swayamagamo varantasevi Tattadrige pruduvapurisha sattvaram me Rogaugam prashamaya vadagegavasinne Tattadrigi pruduvapurisha sattvaram me Rogam prashamaya vadagegavasinne Rogam prashamaya vadagegavasinne
Vijnanam sanakamukodhitam dadhanaha swatmanam swayamagamo vanantasevi tattadrig prutuvapurisa sattvaram me rogaugam prashamaya vatageha vasin. O Lord, you honored Sanaka and the other three sages with him, offering them golden seeds and worshipping them respectfully by washing their feet and by offering oblations. You sought to know from them the path of salvation. Then Sage Sanat Kumara, having the supreme knowledge, explained to you the knowledge of self-realization. After attentively listening to and understanding the sage's advice and keeping it in mind, you, Bhagavane, continue to rule the country for some more time, till you exhausted the enjoyment of the fruits of your actions like a king. You dedicated all activities to Bhagavan, and then when old age approached you, you crowned your son as king and retired to the forest. There, you did Mahatapas with great intensity. In the end, you laid down your physical body through yoga and realized your own supreme nature, that is Brahman. Thus, O Guruvairappa, who did incarnate in the form of Prithu to protect righteousness, kindly destroy all my ends speedily. This is how Narayana Bhattacharya concludes Dasakam 18, namely the birth of Prithu. Narayana, 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 Narayana.
Narayana, 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 Narayana. Hare Krishna, Guruvayurappa.